Hey guys, welcome to a new video today, and in this video I'll be showing how to make the dress you saw on the thumbnail for this. So for this I already have my fabric folded into two to cut out the front part. So I'm going to measure out my length first. I'm going to fold out the bottom where I'm going to be bending it. Then from the bottom I'm going to take the full measurement and add a ½ inch for the sewing allowance at the top. Then I'm going to mark out the length of the sewing allowance just at the top here, from which I'll also measure out my neck area, and I'll be using 4 inches on this to come down by 4 inches. Then I'm going to measure out my shoulder, which is 17 inches, but I'm going to cut it by 18 inches. So this is what I have for my shoulder, and then I'm also going to use 3.5 for my neck area. Then I'll take it down by 4 inches. So this is what I have now. From this point here I'm going to measure the points on my body just so I'm able to cut it out and shape it along as I go. Mm. Now I'm just going to go on and trim. Now if you have excess material, you could decide to add the pocket into it when you're cutting it out at the same time. You can try to cut out the pocket together with it, but because my material is not enough, I'm going to be adding a pocket to this separately. So now I will trim it out. Just going to cut out the back pattern following the same thing. Now for this cloth I'm not going to be using a zip allowance. Instead I'm going to be making I'm going to be using a button at the back. So guys, this is the front and back cut together. Now because my material was not enough, I had to cut this back part open. But if your own material is enough and you do not want to use a zip allowance, or you don't want to use a zipper rather, you do not have to cut this place open. You can still just fold it and just cut it the same thing to be joint, just like how this front fabric is. Then you can decide to open a little hole at the down part just to be able to use a button instead. You just have to make it a little bit deep. But because mine is not enough, I had to join two fabrics to be able to cut out the back part. But when I'm sewing it, or when I'm sewing it, you see what I mean by the part for button, and you don't have to use a zip. Now to cut out the sleeve, I also need this brown net along with the rest of this fabric to cut out this sleeve just from the design that we saw. So now this I'm going to be cutting out one sleeve with this hand, or with this fabric rather. So I'm just going to measure. I think this is enough for what I need, and I'm just going to draft out what I need for for the sleeve. So I'll just measure this. You notice that the sleeve has three
yes,
bands
enough.
of net,
So I'll
and
just
then I
cut
think
it
about three
all
bands
the way
also of this fabric.
straight down.
So once I cut this for the left and right sleeve, then I'm just going to cut straight lines, including sewing allowance. So so now I'm measuring this and I'm having 13 and a half, but 13 and a half is even too long for the first part of the sleeve that I need. I want to make it 10 inches. So this one I'm going to cut out from it is going to serve as the first band for on the sleeve side. So for me, this is going to be the first band. The net is going to be in here. Then there's also going to be net on this part also. So now I'm going to cut out the net fabric, and I'm also going to use the same length. For me, this is okay. For me, this is almost 3.5, but I'm going to be using 3 inches because I want the bands to be like 2 inches, then having the sewing allowance of the remaining 1 inch for both up and down. So now I'm just going to cut out net, and I'm going to cut out three bands of net. These are the bands for the hands, for the sleeves rather. This is the net and this is the fabric. So now I'll just take it to the machine and show you what it will look like together. So now this is the back part. I have stitched down this area, but like I mentioned, for the buttonhole I'm leaving this top side open. So now I've cut this material into two. If it was joined, I wouldn't need to split this material, but now I have cut this material into two. So I'm going to turn this part here with this one, and then turn this second part with this one here. So now I've sewn this, and I'm just going to fold this together to be able to make for the buttonhole. So now I've stitched the back, and this is what it looks like. This is what the back looks like. This is going to be for a button. This is like the buttonhole for the button that's going to be on this side. Now I'm going to join the front to the back on the shoulder side, and I'm going to turn it over with bayards. So this is the dress. I've joined the sides of the dress, but I left this part open, measuring up to 6 inches because I want to add in a pocket, and this is the pocket. So for the pocket sides, I left the opening hole. I left the hand hole open by 7 inches. So when I join it together, it's going to look something like this. So I'm going to attach it now and then show you what it looks like. So now I've attached the pockets, and this is what it looks like. This is the sewing. So I've attached the pockets. Look at it. So now I'm going to run the sleeves. So this is the sleeve, the 3 bands of net. So guys, now I've attached the or the sleeves rather. I've attached the sleeves, and this is what it looks like. I also hemmed the neck side, and this is what the dress looks like.